Like first I'm going to review this, second I'm going to do that, third I'm going to do that. In other words, you're giving a brief and broad overview of where you're going to be taking the reader throughout the paper. So it's just kind of like a roadmap for us. And then I definitely encourage you to use subheadings as guideposts, like, you know, here's an introduction section. And then my next section is whatever, and that'll be connected to your outline. So like your outline should match up with your subheadings. And then just, again, on this last point, Dr. Robbins goes into it in more detail on the link, the recording that I'm going to send you. But basically, if you make any sort of claim, you better have evidence. Don't assume that everyone knows something or this is a position everybody takes. It almost pretend like you're convincing a total neophyte. And you need to lay out proof for them. So don't assume a whole lot of background information from us. But at the same time, you don't want to be completely Mickey Mouse about it. You need to be sure that you cite stuff and you give us proof of, you know, if you say the sky is blue, tell us, you know, give us some evidence of how we know the sky is blue. You think everybody knows that, but maybe you need to lay it out a little bit more. Let's see. So after writing, proofread the heck out of it. Maybe even use something like Grammarly. I just went on it a little bit ago, and for $29 or $30 for 1 month, it might be worth it. If you don't feel super confident about your editing and proofreading skills, then it might be something that you want to invest in. You also know that we have NetTutor that's available on D2L that you can submit papers for them to take a look at. That kind of has a spotty record as to whether or not it's effective, but it might be worth using if you don't want to pony up, you know, $30 or don't have $30. It is something that you're already paying for. But again, we've had sort of mixed reviews. My experience with NetTutor is it's okay. But it's not the greatest product out there. And I'm not even sure Grammarly is the greatest product, but I think Grammarly does, if you pay for it, you do get a little bit more, few more features. Peter, do you being my technology fella, do you have any other experience with any other proofing softwares that you could recommend?
Not really. Grammarly is the one that's the new, it's the new fad, I guess you could say.
It's the go-to or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, Radford has the cut rate NetTutor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Grammarly used to be free, but now, of course, they start charging. Another error that we see is people, they don't double check their reference list to be sure that like things that they cited in the paper are also listed in the reference list. And I catch myself making that mistake when I'm writing, you know, scholarly articles. So the way I check it is if I'm using Word, I will basically I'll go to my reference list and I will see like the first author and I'll type that into my find feature. And I want to make sure that I cited it someplace in the paper. Otherwise, it doesn't need to be in the reference list. And then vice versa, I'll go back through the paper, and if I see something that I put into an in-text citation, I'll search for it and make sure that it's also showing up in the reference list. Because we do carefully check over those reference lists. We're looking for APA, but we're also, like if we're reading along and you make some kind of outrageous assertion, and you cite somebody, we're going to go and see, well, what kind of source is this that they're getting this from? And we might even want to go look it up. So you want to be sure that anything you have cited in the paper shows up in the reference list. Anything that's in the reference list has to show up in the paper. So, you know, you just want to double check that. Also, I know in 605, they really probably emphasized APA. I did a little bit in 607 for the final paper, but it's not something that I super emphasize. And my thinking is APA is one of these things that even somebody like me who has lots and lots of years of experience with using it, I still have to use the guides. I have to go back and forth and say, you know, am I citing this? Particularly websites are the ones that are not like burned into my brain. So even when I'm grading these papers, I'm going back and forth to the guide to make sure that I'm checking it correctly. So there's the link is the LibGuides for Radford University APA 6 grad. And definitely use the research, the reference librarians. They are very helpful, and so I've put information there about, you can email them, you can call them, there's some instant messaging. And then also if you're in office hours, oh, hang on, my phone's ringing, hang on. Let my husband answer that. So anyways, what was I saying? Oh, when you're on the library website and you're there during like normal office hours, there's an instant messaging box that you can say, hello, is anybody there? Help me with this. And they're pretty good about responding like right away and giving you good feedback. So you're paying for this stuff, use it and make it worth your money. Let's see. Okay, so the last slide, again, this is just something, take it seriously. This is your capstone. Don't try to rush it at the last minute. Do the best that you possibly can. Utilize as many resources as you're already paying for, and maybe even invest in Grammarly if, again, if that's something that you're concerned about. Use the resources that are out there. There's nothing wrong with these, because you're being a scholar, and scholars use this information. We use these services. Some of us are not the best writers, and so we have to utilize these editors outside of ourselves as well. So questions.
I have one question, and it's kind of, it might be many questions, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I am a little bit confused about how basically the questions I'll be asked for writing it. I understand that I get to choose a topic and that my team that I've assembled gets to choose a topic for me. Are those two separate papers, or are they the same paper with both questions in it?
So there'll be two separate questions. So, and it sounds like you've got a little bit confused. So let me ask Miranda and Brad. Miranda, what was the topic that you, remind me, because I'm on your committee, so what was the topic that you gave us for yours?
So mine was the effects mindfulness could have on a middle school class.
Okay. So Miranda basically submitted to her committee, generally I'm interested in mindfulness.
Yes.
Okay. So Bradley, what was your topic that you kind of wanted to
There was two topics I submitted. One was like how seating arrangements can affect learning in the classroom.
Okay. Okay. So physical layout of the classroom.
Right. Yeah.
Would be like the broad category, right?
Right.
Okay, so what happens then is, so Jeter, you turn in that general topic idea to your committee, and your committee runs with that and develops a question based on that topic.
Okay.
That becomes one of your questions. So you have kind of a general idea of what the question will be about. And Bradley, you submitted two topics. Were they two totally different topics? Like seating arrangement. What was the other one?
I honestly can't remember which one the other one was.
So you're going to be slightly surprised then, just between one of those two topics. But like Miranda, your question will deal with some aspect of mindfulness. And so we try to create a question, and we try to make it applicable to the classroom. In your case, Jeter, your topic might be something that's applicable to the online teaching stuff that you're connected with now.
Right.
Or it can be some topic just that, you just are interested in. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's applicable, but probably in the case of Miranda and Bradley, because they're out in the field, we want them to be able to use this information to better their teaching.
Right.
So that'll be one question. We'll deal with that topic that you kind of roughed out with your committee, and that they kind of they streamlined and made it more precise. That's one question. That's one paper that gets submitted, all by itself.
Okay.
The other question is the one that the people who teach the core courses, the research, foundations, multicultural, and technology, we get together and we try to come up with a topic that we think would be able to pull in aspects from all four of those courses. So again, I keep going to the example of like homework as an example. You can talk about issues of technology when you're talking about homework. You can talk about issues of different children when you're talking about homework. You can talk about issues of school financing and like, what is the purpose of education? Is it just to learn a bunch of stuff, or is it to make better citizens? You know, how will that, you know, play into homework? And then also research, you know, you just have to find good sources and know how to pull it together. So the 4 core teachers sit down and we kind of rough out a topic, and then we massage it until we have something that we pose to you. And it's almost always, it's an issue that you could take multiple positions on. And so you write about that. So that's the second paper. And that's the one where Dr. Eckenrod Green will say, you know, also submit like 4 paragraphs where you explicitly point out where the 4 core classes are tying in. The reason we're asking for that is that in the past, people would write a response and there was no real evidence that they were pulling together the core courses. And so we said, okay, we need to make this explicit. We need to ask them to write about that. So that it's a paper, but then it's also got that supplemental piece to it. So yeah, it's basically, you know, 2 documents, and one of the documents like has an addendum at the bottom that says, you know, this is how I tied it all together.
Okay. That makes much more sense.
Okay, good. It used to be that we had 3 questions that students had to answer, and they had to do 2 of them in an 8-hour period with me sitting there proctoring. So when you watch the old recording, you'll see me make reference to that. You all don't have to worry about it. We changed it, so it's all completely take home, and it's just 2 questions now. Miranda, you had a question.
So the second one that's like our
Your interest?
Yeah, or no, the second one where you give us the question and we have to tie in the classes.
Oh, right.
That's like a whole nother research paper, right?
Right. And there'll be, you know, so your one topic will likely deal with mindfulness. That's the one that's of your interest. And then this other one will be something totally different. And in fact, I can't remember. It's a good thing I can't remember, so I can't give you all any hints. But I remember voting on it on Friday, and I just can't remember right now what it was. Yeah. Other questions?
And I got a question.
No, go ahead.
My question was, if we're confused on any of the questions, can we ask our committee members?
Yeah, I would always, you know, it's not this big, the committee members can't help you, but if you are unclear about anything, definitely ask. And if you don't get a response in a pretty timely fashion, you know, send it to me. And I'll, you know, I know spring break, some people are different about responding to emails. So if you sent it and you haven't heard something within 24 hours, let me or Dr. Eckenrod Green know, because you are on a limited time. So we want to get you answers in a timely fashion. Okay. Other questions?
I hate to be the guy that asked about paper length, but I'll do it anyway. What's the average that you usually?
Yeah, so the average, I would say 12 to 15 is a good ballpark. Yeah, it's not terrible. You know, I think some people might even on their, it depends on who your committee is, because I have seen some papers where the committee says, we don't want you to exceed 9 pages. So just look over your questions carefully, because they will differ a little bit depending on who your committee members are. But generally speaking, 12 to 15, you know, 12 to 18, it just depends on your writing style and the topic, I think, as well. Other questions? You see my husband in his pajamas. We're all ready to go to bed already, and it's not even 6 o'clock. Other questions that you have? Okay, so I'll send this recording so you can review it in case you just want to review it, and then that other one with Dr. Robbins where she goes into a little bit more detail about, you know, precision and stuff like that. But you may have had that information if you had her for research. She may have gone over some of that same sort of content, but hers is more about like the critical thinking through the process, and so it may or may not be useful. It's entirely your call. Other questions?
Nope.
Well, I thank you for being here, because I know that your questions were probably questions that other people who couldn't be here will have, so much appreciated. So best of luck to you on your exams, and just let me know if you need anything.
you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Bye.